What up? What up? What's up, everybody in the league? It's week one. We got about 10 minutes before the league starts, and I wanted to kind of get you guys rankings and also matchups of what about I think about the league today and what's going to happen in the Bivens league. Started off, I want to just basically give everybody their grade for the draft. I thought everyone overall did well. You know, a few outliers here or there, but for the most part, most people showed up and they did their thing. And of course, you know, when you're drafting online, the decisions are a lot easier because ESPN, you know, kind of makes it clear who's the best value at that pick. We had some people kind of take some gambles here or there, which I like. I always like that. And like I said before, I think everybody did well. So look, just running through the list. To me, I thought it was pretty clear that Dak City, my guy Anthony Martin, definitely had the best draft this season. I mean, you look at his lineup with David Johnson, A.J. Green, McCoy, Zach Ertz, Big Ben, Funches, Isaiah Crowell, and a couple other late snags that he did later on in the draft. I really felt like he had probably the most balanced draft. Now, as far as the heavy hitters, you got quite a few people that I had graded along with Dak City at an A+. I gave my man Tony Pepperoni, Mike Amos, I gave him an A+ as well. Gordon McCaffrey, LaShawn McCoy, Lamar Miller, Chris Hogan. I like all these guys. I think he's going to be pretty set at the running back position. He's going to get a lot of volume week to week with those guys. Nittany Nation coming in solid with an A as well. Fournette and Dalvin Cook is definitely a solid 1-2 punch. I definitely like that. And I also like what he did at the wide receiver position with Stephon Diggs, Cooper. You got Brandon Cooks coming in as the third receiver. I feel like he balanced things out. I like this team from last year. I loved his draft from last year. He drafted heavy running back. That's just my preferred style. But I felt like he still came with it this year with two really solid running backs, but then balancing it out with wide receivers. I quit. Hopefully he doesn't quit this year. My guy Marcus, he definitely came back with a vengeance this year. I like the way that he drafted. He came out with Hunt and then came back with Adams. I thought those were, to me, the best two players at that spot. Aaron Rodgers, of course, you guys already know how I feel about A-Rod. I think he's the best guy slinging the ball. At the third round, yeah, that's about right. Josh Gordon, Chris Carson, those guys are more upside plays, but I like them. I definitely like both of those guys. The only guy that I saw that really jumped out to me is Doug Baldwin. Doug Baldwin's just one of those guys where he'll either win your week or he'll lose your week. He's going to get 3 touchdowns or he's going to get 40 yards. But other than that, I thought, again, solid job. And then he came back in the later rounds. We got Sony Michel, who I think is going to pick it up towards the middle of the season. And then Jordy Nelson, I think, is going to be a good late round flyer. Of course, I got to talk about my own team, which I also gave an A+. I mean, not that I feel like I would give myself an A+ just because, but I really do feel like my team is a pretty good team. With Barkley and Julio, I think we saw all what Julio could do this past Thursday night. I'm not saying that he's going to do that every single week, but I feel good about Julio this year. I feel like Calvin Ridley and Sanu is going to take off some pressure. It's just a matter of the Falcons figuring out how to run that red zone and getting him some more touchdowns. But as far as catches and yards is concerned, I think Julio is going to be good to go. Royce Freeman, Jay Ajayi, I felt like, yeah, this year I definitely want to go back to that formula of getting those top running backs, those bell cows that I know is going to get the ball. Yes, I did not start Ajayi this week, but that's because I wanted to figure out what Philadelphia is doing, how much they're going to give the ball to Ajayi. I know for sure that he's the goal line back. He's clearly the guy that you would put in a goal line situation, but just in the overall gameplay and game flow, I wanted to see if Ajayi would get the ball. I think some of those questions will get answered within the week 2, week 3. I think as time goes on, we'll see what more Jay Ajayi is going to do. But him and Royce Freeman, I feel good about him at the number 2 and number 3 running back spot. And then, of course, I finished up with Cam Newton. I felt like I got great value from Demaryius Thomas. Him going in the 6th round was definitely great value. And then I look at Jimmy Graham, Cobb, Jeffrey late. I think all those guys are going to fill in great for me in flex spot. So I feel pretty good about the draft. I gave myself an A+. You guys definitely can let me know if you feel like nah, I'm not feeling it, or whatever the case might be. Definitely let me know. Sauce on the Side comes in at a solid A. I did not expect this. I was going through the draft. He was drafting, I believe, I want to say right behind me. He was right behind me because I ended up getting, let's see, he got AB, so I ended up with Barkley. So he must have been drafting right before me, because I definitely would have picked AB over Barkley. So he was drafting right before me, but on wraparounds, he was drafting behind me. And I was expecting to be disappointed in his draft. And as the draft was kind of going on, I kind of saw that auto draft wasn't doing him any favors in regards to his running backs. But on the other end, in regards to his wide receivers, listen to this. You got Antonio Brown, the best guy hands down in the league. Then you come back and Michael Thomas in the second round. You get Mike Evans in the third and Larry Fitzgerald in the fourth. Auto draft didn't do him any favors. I would have liked to have seen auto draft get him at least one solid running back within those first 4 rounds. But if you're talking receiver wise, he definitely has guys that he can trade to get a good running back. And if not, he got somebody that I feel like any 4 of those guys are going to give him solid numbers every week. So Dion Lewis, I'm not feeling it, particularly in the 5th round, but, it's auto draft. Mark Ingram in the 6th, first 6 weeks, it's not going to be good. He's going to be out for 4 weeks, then he gets the bye in week 6, so he's only going to get week 5 versus the Vikings, and then coming back, then things kind of break up a little bit and get a little bit easier, but he's still sharing the ball, and you're pretty much missing 6 weeks of action. I don't think you play Ingram versus the Vikings. Well, who knows? And then, of course, Rex Burkman, you got Robert Woods for more wide receiver depth if he needed it, but I don't think he really needed it. I would have liked to see auto draft give him a little bit more running backs, but it is what it is. He auto draft, he couldn't be available. We all understand things happen. You got to take care of spiritual responsibilities, which is the main reason why I'm doing this via video. So anyway, I gave him a solid A. Any given Sunday, along with Tom Long and HFOT, Gary Bivens, they're always the wild cards. They always do things differently. But as far as, let me take these 2 guys. Let me give you Sunday squad: Kamara, Gronk, Mixon, Crabtree, and Brady, and then following up with AP. I like the way he went with that. I wouldn't necessarily pick Gronk in the 2nd round. I'm just not a big tight end guy. If I don't have to go tight end, I won't go tight end early, because I feel like, one, I could put that in for a wide receiver. So you're not forced in this league to draft a tight end, but if you're going to get one, get the best one. So he got the best one. Joe Mixon, Crabtree, I like Joe Mixon's chances. The only thing I disagree with this draft is going Crabtree in the 4th. To me, I felt like that was a reach. I feel like he could have waited a couple rounds to get Crabtree. Probably could have got him in the 7th and wouldn't have been a problem. AP in the 6th, I thought that was a little bit early too, but at the same time, running backs were coming off the board hot and fast. Like, between myself and Mike, we probably both drafted 4 running backs within the first 4 rounds. Or at least in the first 5 rounds. I know I drafted a receiver. He drafted a receiver. So, yeah, definitely probably within the first 5 rounds, both me and Mike took 8 running backs. So, a lot of running backs were coming off the board. So, I can't exactly be mad at AP, being that he's going to be the starting running back. And then he got Sammy Watkins in the 7th. I thought that was solid. So, I gave Any Given Sunday a solid B. And if you moved it to a B+, I wouldn't be mad at that. H2O, he came in with the draft with Zeke, Hilton, Jordan Howard, Juju, Watson, Duke Johnson, and Sterling Shepard. I thought that was very solid of him. This is back-to-back years for H2O and having solid drafts. I really feel like if anyone has benefited from having the computerized draft where we do it on ESPN online, I feel like H2O has definitely benefited. No more, hey, is he still available? No more, I was thinking about putting this guy, or I'm drafting this guy, and then we all got to tell him he's already been drafted. H2O has been spot on. Can't get right. Really just cannot get right. It's not that I feel like he had a bad draft. It's just that things just always seems to happen with his team. So, of course, you guys already know he took Le'Veon Bell with the 2nd pick. and it's not working out. And then to double that up is that he did not come back and draft Connor later on in the later rounds. To me, I think that was, just a thing. I've seen it a number of times in different drafts. Most people that have gotten Bell, for whatever reason, they haven't drafted James Conner. And I think James Conner isn't going to be Le'Veon Bell. Nobody should expect that. But I do feel like he's going to be a solid RB2. So to me, having Bell, and who knows what he decides to do. I don't know if he's going to miss 2 weeks, if he's going to miss a month. He doesn't really need to report to Pittsburgh until week 10 in order to get full credit for the season. So, I mean, it could really get ugly. Or, who knows? Pittsburgh lose today to the Cleveland Browns, and he decides, okay, all right, I need to come in, and they decide, hey, we want to pay you. We really don't know how that situation is going to break out. But in the meantime, James Conner, to me, definitely is going to be a good pickup for how about them boys who I'm going to grade in a second. But getting back to Can't Get Right, I thought Kenyon Drake, to me, in the second round, I love Kenyon Drake. I have a keeper league, and Kenyon Drake is definitely one of my keepers. He's definitely a guy I've been targeting. But just in the second round, I just felt like that was too soon. Just like when somebody says a joke that's just ill-timed, it's just too soon. Like, not right now. And I'm hoping that Kenyon Drake really surprises me and he shows that he's worth that second round pick. But for now, I just kind of had to take a little notch off of the grading for that. Travis Kelce in the third, I'm pretty solid with that. I don't have a problem with that. Thielen, he comes back with Thielen in the fourth and then Olsen in the fifth, which is kind of like, well, okay, if you're going to get, Travis Kelce, why come back and get Olsen in the fifth? You could have just got one or the other. Instead of, again, my theory is that this league doesn't make you get tight ends. So if you don't have to get tight ends, if you can get better value at a wide receiver, go ahead and get the wide receiver. But he decided to go get Kelce and Olsen, and they're both very good tight ends that, can give you wide receiver numbers. But I would have liked to have seen him get a receiver, because when you think about it, between the first and the fifth round, he has no receiver. He has Bell, he has Kenyon Drake, he has Kelce, he has Thielen. So actually, I'm incorrect. He does have Thielen, but then he has Olsen and then Kirk Cousins, and then follows that up with Corey Davis. So again, it's solid. It's not bad, but only two running backs within the first 7 rounds. Only 2 receivers within the first 7 rounds. I'm really not quite sure where it's going. But again, these guys draft differently, and, any theory could work. And so I'm open to it. Hopefully it all works out. But for now, I'm going to have to give it a solid B. It could be a B minus. It could be a B plus. It just depends on how that all works out with the tight end situation. So we covered that. Now let's get to the main guy, Bayon, who had the number 1 pick. He comes strong with Todd Gurley. He comes back with Tyreek Hill in the second round. I felt like that was a little bit of a reach. He probably could have waited to the third, but he picked up with it. Within the third round, he got Alex Collins, who I really like, and then he falls back off again and picking Carlos Hyde in the fourth round. I have no idea. Why would you pick Carlos Hyde in the fourth round? To me, that just doesn't, if I'm going to get a guy in the fourth round as a running back, I'm probably going to get a guy that's going to start. And there was a lot of guys that I felt like that came after that definitely was going to start. That was going to be your bell cow. I got Jay Ajayi in the fourth round. There were other guys that kind of came before him that in the fourth round or in the fifth round that he could have got that I felt like would have gave him more value. But again, things could happen. Who knows? Carlos Hyde can get 30 touches today. So, I'm open to that. Drew Brees in the fifth round, I definitely like that. Golden Tate in the sixth round, I felt like he got great value with that. And then Bilal Powell, which is actually, who could be potentially a starting running back, he got some value there in the seventh round. So I gave him a solid B. Let's see. Who else is left? Dem Boys. Yeah, I just talked about him, and with the late round flyer, he ends up getting James Conner. So I definitely thought that that was one of the things that kind of really boosted him. He started off with Odell and Freeman, finished up with Henry, Marvin Jones, Allen Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and Will Fuller. I like the balance of this team. I love Odell. You guys already know I'm a big fan of Odell. So there's trade potential there. But probably not going to happen, being that his first round pick. So I would have to be willing to give up somebody pretty substantial to make that happen. Freeman is one of those guys where when he's on, he's on. He's great. He catches passes. He gets the goal line carries sometimes. But there are time periods where he's hurt or he's off. And so for me, I'm not a Freeman guy. But at the same time, for the second round, particularly on the wraparound, I can't be mad at it. You know, he got what he feels like could be a number one. Well, chances are he'll be just fine, especially paired up with Derrick Henry, who definitely will be the bell cow. Marvin Jones, Allen Robinson, I love those two wide receivers back to back. My wide receivers, I typically like them to either get a lot of catches or they're going to get a lot of touchdowns. And I definitely feel like Marvin Jones and Allen Robinson have the potential to do that, where they're going to get some touchdowns. Maybe not, 10, 12 targets, per game, but they're definitely going to get somewhere between 7 to 10 or maybe more touchdowns. So I definitely like that. Will Fuller, late in the round, I feel like he could be explosive if he can stay healthy. Today he's not playing, obviously, so you can see how, that could be a factor with Will Fuller. He has a tendency to have hamstring issues, but for the most part, when he's out there, he is explosive. And Deshaun Watson throws a great deep ball. So if he can stay healthy, definitely a guy that I love. Let's see. HFOT. I mean, I don't, hey, look, things happen. You got to take care of your spiritual responsibilities. He had a meeting, and I just feel like that just threw GB's game all off. I love Hopkins. I think he was a great first-round pick, and when he made the pick, I'm like, okay, he's going to be okay. I think GB is going to have a good draft. And he came back with Keenan Allen, which wasn't a bad pick. I would have liked to see GB get a running back there, but that third-round pick, Alfred Morris for San Francisco, it really just kind of let me know, like, yeah, this isn't gonna be a smooth draft for GB. He's ducking in. He's trying to make some picks on the fly. Or maybe he has some guys queued up, but to see Alfred Morris go in the third round, particularly when you have Matt Breida there, and there's rumors that he's probably going to be the starter, that just concerns me a lot. He then comes back in the fourth round and gets Jarvis Landry, which is like, okay, this is solid. But again, that's 3 receivers in the first 4 rounds, and you're leaning on Alfred Morris as your number one. To me, that's just not a good scenario unless you got some really high-powered receivers, 1 through 4. So far, so good. Hopkins, Allen, Jarvis Landry, those are both solid guys. But then he comes back in the 6th round and he gets Peyton Barber, which is like, okay, he looks great now. But you got Jacquez Rodgers, you got Ronald Jones II. Who knows how that's going to shake up as the season continues on. But Peyton Barber is definitely one of those guys where he could be very solid. I'm just not a fan of those 2 guys as your starting running back. He got some Emmanuel Sanders in the 7th round, or the 6th round rather. I thought that was pretty solid. Stafford he got in the 7th round, which I was really surprised about, considering how much Gary really gets on Stafford and basically berates him and saying he's not really that good. I think he's really good. I think he's always solid. He always gives you, 25, 20 points, 25 points. He's always solid that way. But, the consensus is that, yeah, he's just another guy. So the 7th round is like, okay, it's not a bad pick. It's not a great pick. So overall, with those picks, I feel like GB, for the circumstances, we all understand. Probably next year he'll probably do a lot better. But for this year, I got to give you that C. Love you, brother. But I'm sorry. I just can't roll with Alfred Morris as your number 1 running back. So with that being said, that pretty much covers everybody. Nittany Nation, I had him at an A. Tony Pepperoni at A+. I quit. I had him at an A+. Them Boys, I gave him a B+. HFOT, which I just graded, I gave him a C. Myself, I gave an A+. Sauce on the Side, I gave him an A. It really surprised me, but I got to give him an A. Dak City, to me, I still feel like he had the best draft. Even looking at everyone's picks, everyone's late round flyers, I still feel like Dak City had the best draft. Any Given Sunday, I have him down as a B. H2O, I have him down as a B+. But honestly, I could see a B or an A, even when you want to go. Can't Get Right, B-, just because of Le'Veon Bell and just the flow of the draft. I would have liked to have seen him not make so many reaches, but overall, I think there's some potential for him to move up. And then Bayon, I thought he did a solid job. B, I thought he could have done it a little better, but in either case, I think he'll be just fine. So that takes care of the rankings in regards to the draft. And so that leads us into this week's matchups. And so first off, we got a rematch between myself and Any Given Sunday. I just wanted to say, first of all, that corned beef and hash that you made was absolutely fantastic. Thanks a lot, Troy. I wish I could return the favor to you, but that favor is going to have to be in the and a loss. Sorry, my brother. I just feel like after, the championship, you finally get your guys back. I was so happy to see you get Kamara back, but I just don't feel like there's enough there. I think it's going to be very close. When you look at the matchups, you got Cam versus Brady, Barkley versus Kamara, you got Freeman versus Nixon, Julio versus Gronk. So I think it's going to start off very close. But then by Monday night, I expect my team to pull away. Again, I appreciate the good meal that you provided. I wish I could get seconds, but for this week, I'm going to have to take the win along with the meal. Cash me out. I'll leave the tip at the table. That brings me to the next matchup. New Dak City versus HFOT. Well, you guys already heard what I thought about their drafts. I gave Dak City an A+ for his draft. I gave HFOT, helmet full of turf, a C for his draft. So you kind of know how already which way I'm leaning in regards to that. I love Hopkins, I love Allen, I love Sanders, I love Landry, but I just don't think it's enough to handle the running back power that Dak City has. Between McCoy, David Johnson, AJ Green, I just feel like Dak City is just going to start to walk away from this by the time the afternoon starts for these games. That brings me to Big on Finest versus How About Them Boys, who both had two solid drafts. Both of those teams are very balanced. I think a difference maker, if there's a chance that How About Them Boys can really pull away, I think it's James Conner. I think that mistake on behalf of Aaron can't get right. Leaving James Conner out there in the draft and not solidifying him really is going to help How About Them Boys as long as James Conner is playing. I think that he has an easy schedule, and today against the Browns, I think he's going to put in work. It's supposed to be raining. It's supposed to be windy. I don't think Pittsburgh is going to want to throw the ball a lot, and I think James Conner is going to get a lot of run. And then when you pair them up with Beckham, Allen Robinson versus Green Bay, Derrick Henry, I expect to see some points. And then, it just is what it is. When you got Gurley, he's just a special guy. So when you pair him up against, Oakland's defense, who no longer has Mack, I think they're going to be soft up the middle. I think the Rams are going to come in the first week. They're going to establish the run, and Todd Gurley's going to go off. You got Alex Collins playing against a very soft Buffalo defense. I think he's going to go off today. Drew Brees is probably going to put up some major points as well. And so even though it's going to be a close game, I have a feeling that How About Them Boys? How About Them Boys is definitely going to do his thing and start walking away with that victory. So that brings me to Sauce Over Side versus HFOT. Sauce, man, he's a difficult guy, but this year he's loaded with wide receivers between Brown, Thomas, Fitzgerald, Evans. Man, that is really potent, but his running backs are just lacking. I just don't know about Dion Lewis being the number one guy for you, but oh man, I'm stumbling. H2O with his lineup, I just feel like with Zeke versus Carolina, I think Carolina's defense is still, working on some things. They lost some players, Michael Johnson, who does run support. I think Zeke has a very solid game. I think that Texans and New England is going to be a shootout. So I expect Watson to put up major points. And I think Jordan Howard and Juju are going to have solid games today. So I think H2O, he's probably going to eke out the win this week. This brings us to two guys that love each other like brothers. That would be Tony Pepperoni versus Can't Get Right. Without Bell, I just don't think you got a chance. I just don't see it. It's just too much firepower between Melvin Gordon, McCaffrey, Lynch, Lamar Miller, Chris Hogan in a shootout versus the Texans. I just don't think you can stand the rain. But hopefully Bell comes back next week and you can kind of redeem yourself and get back on track. But for this week, I got to go Tony Pepperoni. And that leads me to my game of the week, the matchup that I will be looking at, which is Nittany Nation versus I Quit. Both of these teams are lock and loaded. I love the matchups. Luck versus Rodgers, Fournette and Cooks versus Hunt and Carson, Diggs and Cooper versus Gordon and Adams. I mean, these teams are both very well balanced when you go down the lineup. There's no weak flex spots. So to be honest, I really see this being like a game that comes down to like 5 points, a Monday night, Cooper, touchdown or something like that. But I Quit pulling away with a late win come Monday night in that Oakland LA Rams game. So that is my week's summary, both for the draft grading as well as the previews for the matchup. I hope everybody has a great Sunday. Enjoy the games. Hopefully you already got your spiritual things taken care of for this week. I look forward to doing another video, give you guys rankings for the first week coming out of it, and how I see the league going and how I see the teams trending, and also give you the weekly matchups then. So until then, I'm about to get onto this television, put on my Ravens game or whatever the best game is on, and hopefully you guys and stay healthy and your players stay healthy, and I will see y'all next week. I'm out. Later.